Yeah, this is it. CoLab TV is finally here. Dreams can come true. So tonight is the opening night, and you're going to see our leading academics, your heads of faculties, and some of the staff in the registry office perform some of Cornelius Cardew's Treatise. So we thought, what more could you guys want than an interview with someone who actually knew the late Cornelius? Walter, who works in the office, got to love Walter, is his son. So we went up to the room at the back of the library, who knew that existed, and had an interview. Here you go. So, Walter, could you talk a little bit about how your father's piece came about, Cornelius Cardew's Treatise?
Well, as far as I know, he'd quite recently started playing with the improvisation group AMM. And what was the germ, or why he started writing this piece, I don't know. But he had started playing with this group, which was a completely free improvisation, and their aesthetic was really away from scores and composed music. And at some point after he'd joined them, he produced this graphic score. And AMM did perform it. And I've spoken to people from AMM, and I could never really get an idea of how much they approved of it.
So the piece of music is being played on Monday evening.
Yeah.
What are some of the problems that you think the performers will have, either interpreting it, or do you think there's any kind of problems with the score that might prove?
Personally, I have a lot of problems with the score. And one of the main ones is that I find it very ugly to look at. And it seems very kind of hard and like a technical drawing of a machine in a way.
Yeah. It is. It's just like mathematical formula.
Yeah, I mean, he was working as a graphic designer when he was working on the score, and it contrasts very sharply with all the other kind of art type material that I've come into contact with. Other kind of paintings and so on. But apart from that, as I say, it looks like a technical drawing, but it isn't actually a drawing of anything. Which, a technical drawing, at least you could look at it and say, well, this represents this piece of engineering, or this represents something. But to me, it's just, it is meaningless. And it's quite ugly meaningless as well. So I always find that a problem with it. I think it obscures, or if you want to improvise, if you want to do free improvisation with people, and there's people you get on well with, and you want to work like that, you can do that without having to have this great kind of overblown thing in front of you.
Yeah.
That's, I don't really see how you can be trying to interpret that score and improvising and interacting with other people at the same time. Especially because it just seems so difficult to get into. I mean, obviously other people don't have that problem.
So this afternoon I'm interviewing Nic Pendlebury, Gabriella, the harp teacher, and Karl, Lutchmayer. Do any of them have any outstanding fines that you can embarrass them about?
Well, unfortunately, we don't charge staff fines, so... But don't let that give you any ideas.
Thank you so much for your time, Walter.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. Walter. What a star. So, because we love you so much out there in the Trinity Lab and student body, we thought, let's give them some more. So next up is an interview with Karl Lushface Lutchmayer, Gabriella, the gorgeous Gabriella who plays the harp, and Yes, Nic Silver Fox Pendlebury. We're just going to chat. So, in the last year in the art world in the UK, what's been some of your favourite collaborations that have come about?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Which always American means I have no idea.
That's alright.
In the last year,
Yeah.
Good.
I like time frames.
Okay, you've got to think of all the stuff that happened at the Olympics opening.
I was going to mention the Olympics and our own Evelyn Wallen, who got to be seen by the whole world. And I thought actually there was fabulous collaboration.
Yeah.
It was really fantastic. With a few problems with understanding, because they put, for instance, the Gosh Hospital, and no one except for a few British people, not even all of them knew what Gosh meant, except that in English it's an exclamation, but actually it's Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And anybody around, outside Britain had not the faintest idea. So, you do something for the rest of the world and they don't understand because you don't think, well, they can understand. I think that's an interesting point if you want to learn.
Yeah.
But I thought,
I was going to say, but the trouble is with all those nurses dancing, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Lucian hospitals had to close down their accident emergency, because they've all been busy learning how to dance rather than...
And you're all extremely successful musicians in your own right. And so has collaboration been a part of your career up until now? Can you think of?
It's been a huge part of mine.
Yeah.
With dance, I've done lots of collaboration with dance, with Siobhan Davis Dance Company. I was involved in her very first 2 productions. Shobha Jai Singh, Indian Dance Company, playing Michael Nyman. Lots more dance companies, theatre companies I've worked with, jazz musicians. Did an album called what's the album called? You Live and Learn Apparently. Django Bates, which was a really fantastic collaboration with this small group and my string quartet. So yeah, it's been a huge part of what I do, collaborate. And the great thing about collaboration is you never really know what's going to happen.
And as performers, do you kind of enjoy that extra freedom that collaboration kind of, I don't know, because it gives you more opportunity, I guess, to kind of express an idea.
Sometimes it's scary as well, because you don't know what to expect. So you go into unseen territory, and sometimes I feel it's more scary than exciting. And it's when you start finding things to do that then it becomes interesting, that it's curiosity and everything takes over. But I think there is a vulnerability there, and it's
interesting hearing that from teachers, because as students it's extremely terrifying because you're always scared about making mistakes.
But the thing is,
I think it's always the same.
This is the really great thing, to get used to disaster that's happening in every corner.
Except,
it was rubbish, fine, we've done that.
Except that when you're in the professional world, you can't really accept disaster the same way. So you have to turn it into something that is acceptable.
I would as well.
Really?
Well, I think because collaboration is about process, and process is about letting things not work, so that you know it doesn't work. So you go down a path, think, actually this is absolute rubbish, let's start again. But you've learnt a lot from going down that. I think you're absolutely right in terms of performance. I don't think you want a disastrous performance, but I think collaboration is all about, the 3 of us being in a room and not really knowing what we're going to do. And
I'm always reminded of Dr. Christian Barnard's autobiography, guy who invented open heart surgery. It's just called The Courage to Fail.
Yes.
And ultimately, in order to succeed in the way he has, or any great collaborative musician does, you've got to be willing to actually fail a few times, and that's just going to be...
I don't have the problem with failure, but what I mean is when you start a collaboration project where there is an audience involved and the public involved, there is a responsibility to a certain degree that the performance has to work. I'm not saying the collaboration shouldn't fail or anything, but if the performance fails, we still have learned so much about it. We can accept the failure, but if we look for funding, say, especially in the current climate, we are risking not to receive funding again towards the same project. So when it's done within an institution and this part it stays as a process, is fine.
Yeah.
This is a truth, but it's a fairly recent truth, because if you think
Yes.
about
Yes,
any
yes,
performance
I
from the
agree.
18th or 19th century,
No, I
the
agree.
audience was there to see what would happen.
I agree.
Just like the tightrope walk or whatever.
I agree.
Is it going to succeed?
And then it's
It's
true.
a very recent idea.
Yeah.
And also from an audience's point of view, it's quite nice
Yeah.
not to know what's going to happen, not to know whether it's going to be successful or fail. I think
Yeah.
that's very exciting from an audience's point of view as well.
And I mean, if you experience contemporary theatre a lot, you often, I mean, really contemporary cutting-edge theatre, you often find something happens on stage and it just crumbles in front of you. And the audience cohesion at that moment, and people discussing afterwards in the interval, was that real? Was that not
Yes.
real? Was that
Yes.
something? It's
Yes.
extraordinary.
I think one of the skills is to learn how to react to
Yes.
things
Yeah,
that
that's
are
true.
going wrong
That's true.
and
Yeah.
take it somewhere else.
Mm.
And maybe you're suddenly in a different place to where you were
Yeah.
imagining you were
Yeah.
going to go.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes it's even
Yeah.
better than where
Far
you
more
thought you were
interesting,
going to
yeah.
go. Far more
Mm.
interesting, yeah.
Karl, can you tell us a little bit about Monday night and what we can expect?
Okay, well, I'm mentoring.
You tell me as well.
Okay, sure, yeah. But actually, you should really cover your ears at this point, because this is
Because you don't want us to know.
Absolutely.
Shall we really
No,
do
no,
that?
no,
You
no,
know,
no. Okay, so we're doing 3 performances of Cardew's Treatise. Treatise is a very, very long-scale, large graphic scorework, and you're not really expected to play all of it. You take out a page or 2 pages or 3 pages. So, on the day, we've got 3 different groups of staff, and I particularly wanted to put together people who are known for playing their instruments, such as Gabriella and Nic, and people who are not. So Sophie Fuller's going to be there, James Hitchens, all sorts of people. Ben Gould is playing, Anne Van Allen Russell.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, all the people that you see quite regularly, Ed Macaulay, all the people you see quite regularly, but don't think of them as musicians. So we're putting this all together. And the thing is, we haven't decided which pages we're playing. So there are 3 groups, and on the day, each group has 1 hour's rehearsal to choose a page or pages, and then choose their relationship or discuss the paradigms in which they're going to interpret the score. And in fact, the rehearsal really largely won't be about instruments playing and so on. It'll be a discussion of what do we think this aesthetic is, what do we think we want to do with this, are there any rules to this page? That's what we've got. And then, as I say, in the evening, we'll each of us give it 3 separate performances, but we're going to project the score behind us. So the audience is going to have a very clear view of what, in fact, we are interpreting. So, in fact, in some ways, the audience is collaborating, because by listening with a view of the score, they're actually got a very, very different relationship than if they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm rather hoping that should be a 4-way collaboration, composer, performer, audience, and sort of conception as well.
So lastly, let's talk about our favourite pop collaborations. So mine is definitely Beyonce and Jay-Z. They've done quite a number of tracks.
You worked with them?
No, I wish.
Oh.
No. My favourite collaboration that they've done is probably Crazy in Love. What's your favourite pop collaboration?
Ooh. Tom Jones singing with EMF doing You're Unbelievable. Just extraordinary. That voice against that kind of, I guess it was the early 90s grunge outlook. Really, really, there's a huge frisson, but Tom Jones is extraordinary in that moment.
I'm going to have to YouTube that.
Okay.
I think mine's about to happen, actually.
Monday.
No. My daughter is a budding songwriter, and we've just started going to the studio to put together an album. And so I'm collaborating with her, but she's my boss, she's telling me what to do. So that's really interesting, actually, and helping her put a pop album together is an education for me, so that's very exciting.
That's cool.
And I've been working with rap singers and beatboxers.
Oh, cool.
And I thought that was amazing. First of all, because I realised how beatboxers are an incredible talent.
Yeah.
They are incredible. And this guy was Faith SFX, who is a British champion, absolutely very famous. Is the most charming person, really, really lovely, and the culture behind it is also very interesting. And working with rappers, it was grime singers, actually, my singers, I don't think you call them singers. But we were classical musicians and pop and grime musicians. It was incredibly interesting, the contrast between the 2 worlds, and actually how the classical musician waiting to play counts bars, for instance, and turns up in time and would like to leave on time if possible. and they turn up very late, but then they could go on until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. And also the fact that when someone is singing, they're charging with energy, they're listening, they're supporting, and they're really energising. And I thought that was incredible. And I felt, again, I learned so much out of that. You know, to see these two worlds meeting. And we did a gig at the Hackney Theatre, Empire, which again, for them was a first, because usually they make music in nightclubs full of drugs and guns and knives. And so to bring, and the other exceptional thing was that the audience, of course, was not the normal audience, because the audience for them, and they were dancing, they were swaying along, and they were so much alive, so different from the classical audience. That again, I thought, you know, really made me think a lot into changing the way we listen and make even classical music.
But it's funny that sometimes I've experienced the sort of opposite thing, where I've been working with pop musicians who they're working in the more classical world. And I can remember maybe 10 years ago now working with Terry Riley on his piece in C with Paul Bartholomew actually. But he got in a pop group which was Pulp with Jarvis Cocker. And I can remember in the green room backstage, the bass player going over and over and dong, dong, dong. Oh, I just can't play this dong, dong, dong. And it was just reading music, dong, dong. I just can't get this. And I just got on the music and said, now play it. Oh yeah, dong, dong, dong. That's easy, isn't it? And because he was reading music,
because they're not used to it.
And I think again, you know, they were out of their comfort zone, and they were worried about reading actually quite simple music. And then there was a sort of trying to improvise at the back and sort of worrying about that. So everybody on stage was actually worrying about things, but actually it was fantastic. And you just got to accept, you know, the situation and just embrace it and just go for it.
That's a bit of a motto for musicians right there. Cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I know, words cannot express how excited you are right now. So that's it for today's edition of CoLab TV. I'm off to buy some cufflinks that Karl was wearing. He was actually wearing a K and an L. Do you think they have a co and a lab? CoLab TV.